thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
You've had a busy trip to Washington, D.C. from India.
Absolutely.
Tell us what brings you to Washington.
Well, we, as a political party, we thought we must reach out and let people know that we are also in the business of promoting trade and investment and strengthen the relationship between the two countries. So over a period of time, India and US have been very close to each other, but we need political support and people like us coming here to understand better practices in government and also to get some important takeaways that we can go back and implement back in our country. It's been a very interesting 2-day trip to Washington, D.C. Met with a lot of senators and congressmen and, of course, the Secretary of Housing. Some of the points that we discussed really impressed us because as a young political party, we have to build a vision and something for the future. And the takeaways were excellent in our opinion, and this is something that's going to help our country and our people.
Let me ask you, we have listeners who probably are wondering, why should America care about what's happening in India and have stronger relations? So what message would you give to them?
You have to understand, the world 1/6 is the world population is in India. So what happened, India is the largest democracy. What happens in India, eventually it will reflect back in other parts of the world. So you cannot ignore what's happening in India. It's very much, it's quite essential for the rest of the world to know about it, and eventually it will influence. If some issue happens out there, here you can say the great workforce of Indians are there. So eventually it will hit the economy in very crucial sectors of business here.
So you mentioned trade as one. I know security is another relationship that's important between the United States and India. What other things would you like to see the two countries work more collaboratively together on?
You know, all around the world right now, the biggest thing is employment, right? So, you know, India has always supported the drive for technology and innovation in America. A lot of our young engineers have been coming here. They've contributed their time and effort into making some of the successful technology programs and missions out here. So I think we also need to focus on agriculture because that's the biggest employer back in India. And some of the best practices, the good technology that this country has been building upon is something that we can draw upon and take it back to India and see if we can implement those. The new areas of business, which is very keen for a growing nation like India, is clean energy, waste management, and of course, on the security side, we had to deal with terrorism like USA also had to deal with that issue. And we have collaborated very well on several specific programs, but I think the Government of India and the Government of America have come forward to sign agreements which enable the transfer of such technology, which earlier would be given only to NATO countries. So India is the third country after Japan and Korea in Asia to get that benefit, where sensitive technology which was available for security purposes is now being transferred to India.
Mr. Kalyan, can you tell us about the journey from being an Indian filmmaker and producer and actor to now a political leader?
Maybe first of all, I never thought of to become an actor, so destiny pushed me to become an actor. But my heart was always looking towards to work for my country. I don't know, I never knew which way to go. But I think eventually the path led to get into politics. And the reason was, it's about the public policies, if it is affecting common citizens, and I'm not able to, I was just being a helpless guy, or being an armchair thinker, or armchair activist, and I was sick and tired of it. Constantly, that inner dialogue is killing, it was killing. To one point, it was driving me mad. Either you do it, I sit at home and do films. But I could not keep quiet, so to answer my conscience, I've taken a call, just plunged into politics.
And how would you describe the mission of the party that you've started?
It's about, India is a very complex country. We don't speak one language. We are not of one ethnic group. We are hundreds of ethnic groups, and we have hundreds of dialects, and we are close to have around 30-40 languages, different languages and different dialects. We have a lot of cultural clashes. So all these things put together, we have to really steer India, and somehow the destiny is we find something commonality amidst all these contrasting issues here, and that's what interests us, and that's what we want to bond it further. Because if you don't work towards it, and there are a lot of issues would crop up in the decades to come, and as a part of our journey, as a part of our commitment, so we brought all this. Now people ignore it, because why a particular issue has to arise, and the states might get divided into smaller fragments, segment. So we want to make sure. So we brought all this into one fold, into 7 principles, and to unify. Because you don't, I don't know how much you have an idea about India. I don't know. The rest of the world does not have it. We have a caste system, and we have a religion. We have a regional issues. So we brought everything in together, and also this is one principle we brought into the party, for it to bind India, and the second would be predominant, development with ecological awareness. So this is the main core which we are looking forward to. This is the fundamental which party was formed.
Just to add to what he said, I mean, most of his followers in the movies were the young people of India, and he reflects their aspirations earlier in the movies. So the same thing he had to continue in politics to make them feel confident that there is a person out there who's thinking about us. And he reflects the aspirations of that segment of the population which is very keen to have a different India in terms of opportunities, in terms of more broad-mindedness, cutting aside regional disparities, going to become a global citizen. And as part of that outreach program is what brought us to Washington, D.C.
That's wonderful. And just so our listeners know, I've heard you described as the Tom Cruise or the Denzel Washington of India filmmaking. Of course, those are 2 popular American actors. You also mentioned that, if I understood you correctly, that your path into acting wasn't something that you planned out. So how have you been able to
because I don't know, right from my childhood, I came from a very small family. My father was a government employee in police services. Maximum, my family was looking at me to become into police services. So somehow I could not finish my degree, and I was into a lot of yoga and a lot of spiritual. My mind was going towards the spiritual realm. So I was learning. I was into a lot of yogic practices. I think my family was quite irritated about that, and I said, "You're growing and you're not doing anything." And I said, "I don't know what to do." Then I said, "Why don't you try acting?" Then I said, "Okay, let me try," because my family is in film business. So I just tried, and someone liked it, and that's how it started off. But whatever I do, I put my focus completely onto it. That's how it went on.
That's great. Well, congratulations on the success that you've had.
Well, we touched on this a bit, but what are some ways that America and India can better partner together?
Excellent. I mean, like I said, India is still a country which is very open to having a very strong relationship with America in terms of trade. And also the fact that most of our young people have a desire and a vision to come and contribute in the universities here as well as the technology areas. But the newer areas of opportunities in India are really going quicker. And mobile communications, space technology, like I said about agriculture, and not to forget, waste management and clean energy are some technical areas where America has already advanced itself, and we'll be happy to collaborate and get in people who will be able to invest into new products and new factories back in India. So I think these are broad areas where we can collaborate. We've done in aerospace. We've also done in infrastructure like ports. So the opportunities are plenty, and we are, like I said, it's a very democratic nation which is not regulatory as it used to be, and very open and broad-minded in terms of doing business with America.
So many of those areas that you mentioned, of course, are core to the free enterprise system that both of our countries deeply believe in. Can you talk at all, given the size of the population of India, how that belief in free enterprise and freedom more broadly has lifted people out of poverty and helped them to better lives?
You'll be surprised to know that India has a population of 1 billion today, and both our nations are indeed blessed to be so democratic in their systems. There's a lot of transparency. There's a lot of equality, freedom. This is something that we cherish. This is what the Constitution gave us. And all our citizens work hard towards building up their families and the ecosystem around them. So I think the opportunities are there, but the relationship has to improve even more. We are beyond a stage where we think of local area domination or wars or situations which used to exist in the 1960s or the 70s. Strategically, a partnership is very important between India and America in the Asia-Pacific region. And it's incredibly rewarding for both of our countries to come together and push this partnership further.
At a time when President Trump and China are going back and forth on an issue of trade, can you share how we hear all of the contentious nature of what that relationship is? How is President Trump viewed in India and in terms of relations with this White House in particular?
Let me think. See, the way Donald Trump is viewed in India is like, I think whatever he's doing it for his country. Though it will hurt the interests of Indians, or it will hurt the interests of other nations. But what he's doing is it's good for the U.S. That's how we look at it. Because that identity politics is quite high on, it could be seen everywhere. Right from Catalonia or from Brexit or anywhere, in all the countries we go. And even within India, that identity of, some people who come all the way from other places and they're able to get the benefits better than us, and they're able to progress better than us, prosper better than us. And I think definitely that anger is quite common in all over the world. I think Donald Trump is representing that part here. So, though it pains, definitely it pains, there is no doubt about it. But a part will understand. So it is a kind of contradictory on this issue there.
Interesting. Well, one area where Trump has done things differently, perhaps from some of his predecessors, his use of social media, particularly Twitter, to talk directly to the American people and people across the globe, frankly. I wanted to ask, because I just saw a report this week about how India could be really the next significant area of growth for social media companies and technology. What can you tell us about the use of those platforms and how that's changed communication back in your country?
No. He initiated, his brainchild is recently from a party side. He initiated a program. It's called Janatarangam. It's a wave of people. That's the meaning of it. So how it went, so I think you'd better to explain it. So,
before I get into that, you must know that he's the 6th most popular guy on Twitter. He's got close to 3.5 million followers, and he's actively followed.
And what's the handle for our listeners in case they want to check it out?
It's Pawan Kalyan.
At Pawan Kalyan.
At Pawan Kalyan. And this program that he just mentioned about in the party, we started a program called Janatarangam, which is waves, acoustic waves, as well as waves, reaching out to people. And it was a knock on every door political campaign. But interestingly, we used technology. And all those knocks on the doors were on Facebook Live. So on a particular day, the president of our party, Mr. Pawan Kalyan, also visited houses at 9:30 in the morning. And, this conversation that went live made people join this incredible revolution back there. And we had almost 30,000 videos on Facebook every day for 5 days. 30,000. And our social media reach figures was just mind-boggling. We did 12 million in 5 days. And we had 396,000 people who uploaded the videos. So it was a tremendous experience.
And people are really, because this technology really making people to participate, and they're able to be vocal or verbal about what they feel. And both the party ideology and everything, and we're able to leverage social media in quite an effective manner.
See, the biggest, I wouldn't say the biggest, but our core strength is the youth who follow him and believe his ideology and his fundamental beliefs, our values in life. And those are the ones who wanted to express their support to the party in the right way. And social media gave an opportunity for each of them to be part of that process, because as a political party, we may not be able to reach out to every single person. Even if we did, we could not have given them an opportunity to participate in the process. But social media allowed each one of them to connect with him.
So,
And end of the evening, he would sit down and make phone calls to, whoever performed beyond a normal figure, like 200, 300 calls per day these guys would take, and he would call them and congratulate them. So it was great.
it broke all the protocols. I mean, the regular political protocols, so which made them to be more straight to be connected to us. So that gave us a lot of leverage. And I think social media is going to be very powerful.
That's really inspiring, yes.
And you make a great point about social media allowing participation, and I know the youth probably certainly really enjoy that. Are there any final messages you'd like to share with our listeners before we go?
Like I said, this partnership is very important for both the countries, and we are here as a young political party to also continue the same friendship and partnership. And we're also here to represent our community, because most of the community members today are feeling a little, I wouldn't say upset, but a little sad at the new administration, the new regulatory controls that came in about immigration, and how their families and their children could get affected, especially on the H-1B visa regulations that have come in. So we are here to support our community, give them that strength and confidence. At the same time, at the government level, we are here to make the lawmakers understand that this is a process that they also must respect and take it further.
So from my side, I would like to say a lot of cultural understanding should get deepened between US and India, because we call it as because America was discovered they want to go to India, but instead of India they discovered America, Columbus. So there is some connect right from the discovery of America. A lot of us feel that there should be a lot of cultural exchange programs is very needed before, even to understand, before business to take it to the next level. I think a lot of cross-cultural understanding between America and India, because each part of India has a very unique culture. So you cannot say India as one culture, because it's a multiculturalism. To understand that, I think each state should have a direct connect with the US, so to understand, to explore their own culture. And so America will have at least 30 to 40 cultural exchanges, and that would really deeply enrich the prospects.
In our own experience, I mean, when we talked with lawmakers in the last 2 days, the ones who had been to India were able to empathize and get on the subject real quick. But the ones who have never been to India would take time to understand the points that we were coming to. So it makes a great difference. I mean, once we have this exchange programs on a regular basis and people understand our nation and the culture, I think it will be significantly better.
Well, it sounds like a good project for the Daily Signal. Maybe Ginny and I can pay a visit to you in India. I know my colleagues from the Heritage Foundation have already. So.
We will look forward to that.
India really shocks you, because there is a great wealth and a great poverty. At the same time, people don't complain, and somehow they're able to withstand the pain, and the tolerance is quite high. And still they don't want your good, they want their own good. And that's what India talks about. And even when Martin Luther King Jr., when he came to India, that's what he expressed. If the same situation would be prevailing in any other country, it would have led to a bloody war. And how come it does not happen in India? I think that's what anyone can learn from India. Amidst all these disparities, how people are still able to smile and go on with their life without a bitterness on their face and without a single complaint. I think that part, if you understand the soul of India, it's very easy to deepen the relationships. That's what I'd like to have.
Well, thanks to both of you for coming and spending time with the Daily Signal, sharing your story, and to our listeners, encourage you to check out the work that they're doing, and we'll continue to follow it.
Yeah, thank you both for letting us participate in this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I hope you reach out to India in your podcast too, and we'll be happy to support that.
And we will make sure it'll go. A lot of Indians will reach out to you. Thank you very much.
Great.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Siddhi Idnani and please do subscribe to New Waves.
ఇలాంటి మరిన్ని మంచి వీడియోలు కావాలని కోరుకుంటున్నారా? అయితే పక్కనే ఉన్న గంట సింబల్ను క్లిక్ చేయండి. అలాగే సబ్స్క్రైబ్ చేయండి.